name is Zena.
Hi, I'm Amaris, and this is the SideWalk Senate podcast. Okay, so Zena girl, I think today we need to address one of the major elephants in the room of our country that is going on right now. It has been in the news for quite some time.
Okay, go ahead.
What? What?
It's our kind of elephant. I don't know where it was going with it. I didn't know where it was going with it.
Yes. So
I'm listening.
we need to address the whole issue of the THA elections.
Okay. All right.
And to talk about the elections, not necessarily from the same bacchanal slant as everybody else in this country has been doing, but to talk about it
from an educational,
right, because
teaching point of view.
Right. So, you want to start? Because I still need to put some of my personal biases aside so that I could be objective enough for this podcast.
Okay, I will start with something pretty objective, which is the history of the THA. All right, a reading directly from the THA website.
Yeah, so if you have a problem, pick it up with them.
No, well, I cite it, I'm not plagiarizing. I'm telling you all, a reading from the THA website. They have a little background on the, a historical background. So, historical background. The Tobago House of Assembly is its country's oldest political institution. The THA was first incarnated in 1786 in the island's former capital, Georgetown, which is now called Studley Park. The capital moved to Scarborough in 1769, and so did the offices of the House of Assembly. In 1877, the representative government was abolished, with the Crown Colony introduced to handle the administration of the island. And in 1889, Tobago was joined with Trinidad by the British government. And 10 divisions, 9 with particular remits, plus the office of the Chief Secretary, which oversees the others. This assembly was created by Act 37 of 1980 for making better provision for the administration of Tobago and for matters therein. So so it's two arms, the legislative arm and the executive arm, right? Mm-hmm. The legislative arm is where all members of the assembly meet and select committees to make policy decisions. The executive arm of the assembly is headed by the chief secretary in his capacity as leader of the executive council. The council has the individual and collective responsibility of carrying out the task of the assembly through its divisions.
All right.
Each division is led by a secretary with an administrator. And there are currently 10 divisions. Office of the Secretary, Community Development, Education, Innovation, Energy, Finance and the Economy, Production, Forestry, Fisheries, Health, Wellness, Family Development, Infrastructure, Quarries, Environment, Settlements, Urban Renewal and Public Utilities, Sports and Youth Affairs, Tourism, Culture and Transportation. Based on these 10 divisions, Amaris, because I feel like it kind of covered each section in the sector that you need to manage. Do you think that the THA is well equipped to run its own affairs independently of Trinidad?
I think that given the history of the THA on paper, based on what you would have read from the website, on paper it sounds good and well organized. And of course, well-intentioned citizens who have been elected or appointed to the...
Well-intentioned.
Yes, well-intentioned citizens who have been elected or appointed to the House of Assembly, they would want to ensure that what the THA is mandated either via the House of Assembly rules or the Tobago House of Assembly Act, that those things is what is going to be fleshed out. So, based on my knowledge of Tobago, of course we don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of it because neither of us are Tobagonians. So, it would be a little bit, what's the word?
Something along the lines of not being qualified.
Yeah, and you know, Tobagonians, they are a little bit sensitive. No shade, but they are. about their affairs. So in terms of that, I wouldn't want to speak as to how the different divisions run. But I think they do very well for themselves. If you drive through Tobago, you barely see potholes.
And the road is clean.
The roads are clean. The houses at the House of Assembly built in an order. They're not looking helter-skelter. You know, it's fairly... I look at Tobago as like our responsible little sister. You know, sometimes in family dynamics, you would have like a sibling the older sibling who might be real wild and out of timing, and then the younger one feel like it's their responsibility to, you know, be the model child. I feel like that's what Tobago aspires to be in terms of the dynamic between Trinidad and Tobago, but at the same time, we have to be realistic. So while on paper, they might be well equipped to run their own affairs and they have everything organized and, you know, we have everything compartmentalized, guess what? They don't have the money.
Well,
they don't have the, let's be honest. They don't have the capital.
Yeah.
Because while Tobago has a well-established tourism sector, which, you know, in pre-COVID times would have been, you know, a well-oiled machine. Yeah, but let's be honest. Yeah. Tourism makes nowhere near as much money as oil and gas.
Okay.
So I feel as though they could get a little more leeway. Yes, we could give them a little more breathing room in terms of the central government not hovering quite so much. But at the same time, there's still a portion of our budget every year that is allocated to Tobago for the House of Assembly to further allocate to the different divisions. So just the fact that we still need to do that, and they can't say that, you know, Tobago doesn't really need the money that Trinidad central government, I should say, not Trinidad, central government allocates to Tobago is really just window dressing rather than the lifeblood of their economy.
Understood.
Then we could say, all right, well, you know, we could allow them to, when I say we all, I'm talking about the central government, I'm not talking about Trinidadian. So, my Tobago family, all they don't come for me, please, because I ain't able. But, you know, if it was that, you know, they don't necessarily need the money, it's to assist with, you know, the menial things. Yeah. But really and truly,
that's not the case.
That's not the case. So in terms of that, I feel as though they need us as much as we need them, but they need us. Okay, so what do you think, Zena? Do you think that they could manage their affairs on their own, or that they still need central government, like majorly?
I agree with most things that you say. The determining factor is really the revenue. And will they be able to stand on their own without help from the central government? Right, I wanted to know, but I'm not sure if you know. The THA is the body that governs the affairs of Tobago. But where does the Tobago East and Tobago West representative in Parliament, where do they fall into that scope of things?
From my understanding, I think they function independently of the THA. They more or less have like a reporting relationship.
Okay.
So it's cordial. They would like liaise with the THA, but at the same time, they answer to Parliament. They are parliamentarians.
Okay.
THA have an assembly. They don't have a parliament. The parliament in Port of Spain is the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago.
Right.
So that would be their role. They don't have a hand in administrating the affairs of what goes on in Tobago. Their duty, and I think that this is something that we would probably explore a little later in the season as well, the role of a member of parliament, which is really to represent the concerns and the affairs of the constituents in the House of Representatives. So in terms of that, is separate and apart from the THA. Of course, you know, as public servants in that respect, they would have to have some kind of rapport going on between them, but at the same time, they can't walk in THA office and say this, that, and the other.
And start to call shots.
So, and I think that it works for them because we know it's not a secret, the relationships that Tobagonians have with each other is very different from the relationship that Trinidadians have. So that is one thing that really stood out to me during the CHA elections, because I know Tobagonians, I have Tobagonian family. I know Tobagonians to generally be cordial people, and I know Tobagonians to generally be people who they operate like as one.
Yeah.
So, for instance, when I was in UE, I would notice that the Tobagonian students always stuck together. They always looked out for each other. Whereas the Trinidadian students, yes, we had that, but you know, it's not as strong as they, like, you know, it's something that is embedded in them from children. So when I observed what's going on with these elections and notice the cat and dog relationship that going on between the assemblymen, I was taken aback, because I know that Tobagonians generally don't behave like that. And I mean, we could say it without apology, Tobagonians not as petty as Trinidadians in that respect. So I was very shocked to witness the nonsense, quite frankly, the foolishness, the crosstalk that is going on coming out of these elections. So that is going to take me to the other question that I was going to ask this way. So in Trinidad, we know when we have elections,
it was not like, okay, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because compared to what it could very well be, because I live in Trinidad.
Yeah.
I am more privy to what is going on during a local government election or a general election versus THA elections.
Yeah.
So for me, being in Trinidad, I feel like everything was quiet. It wasn't as in your face as THA elections going on. As a matter of fact, the elections passed, and the day after, people were saying, oh, it had an election. I didn't know THA does have elections. Some Trinidadians, what is THA? Because let's be honest, a lot of us, as much as Tobago is our sister isle, a lot of us are not up to speed with what's taking place in Tobago and what they have. The only thing we know is Bago Dawg. That's all we know.
You're sure right.
I'm telling, and some people don't even know Tobago that well. They probably went once or twice.
They know Pigeon Point, they know Crown Point because that's where the airport is, and they know Scarborough because that's where the port is. Yeah.
Right, and some have never even been to Tobago.
Yeah.
Which, well, is a sad reality. So, in terms of how the elections led up, honestly, it was obviously quieter than a countrywide election.
Yeah.
It had some back and forth. There was some back and forth between the different parties, obviously. I mean, it must have the normal picong, the normal old talk, the bacchanal, but it was a lot quieter compared to, which is obvious, because compared to the whole country having elections.
Yeah.
What do you think? So the election results, it was a tie, a deadlock. What do you think are what do you think is the way forward? People have been proposing a lot of things. Some say that they should go back to the polls. Some say they should share the power. What do you think? What is your opinion on that?
Gil, to be honest with you, I am not understanding why the two parties can't come together, like the adults that most of them are over 30, and agree, like big people.
Agree to what? Share?
Agree to share.
Because, Amaris, that is not good. Let me tell you something. If I run in for president and you run in for president, I want to be president by myself.
True.
And this is, no, let me use a different example. Because we don't, that's not our legislation. If I am the leader of a party and I am running for prime minister, and you are the leader of another party and you running for prime minister, I want to be prime minister by myself. I don't want to be sharing with the other party. I don't want, like, I don't see them, and I understand it, I don't see them finding that common ground. It's going to be a lot of back and forth and a lot of, it's going to keep them back from moving forward. So I really don't expect them to agree to share the responsibility or to share the power. I don't see it happening. I don't see it being possible. I don't even see it being necessary. I don't see how it will work out because honestly, everybody wants to be in charge by themselves.
But the thing about it is, Zena, what I am thinking is the reason why everybody said and agreed that they would have offered themselves up to go to represent the people of Tobago is because they want...
Amaris, that is not
Listen, no, hear him out. In a perfect world.
The world is not perfect, and a lot of people's intentions are selfish. So whilst
and that I think is the problem.
Whilst we think, or whilst we would expect, or we would hope the reason why you would put yourself forward in an election is to help country and not seek self.
But what you're really going to get, that is what I would like to understand.
You want me to call
what you're going to get?
It have money, it have bubble, it have perks, it have things they could get, it have things they have been getting, it have things they will get. So
the
world is not perfect, and if you have two separate parties trying to come together, you don't even need to look at it like that. Just look at Trinidad and Tobago, the government versus the opposition. We're not getting anywhere. It don't matter who in government and who in opposition. Everybody's seeking their own affairs. We're not moving forward. We're not passing bills. We're not doing anything. They're not agreeing in that way. So I don't think they could work together. I don't think they would work together.
Do you think that selfish mindset is something to do with the generation, or is it just the individuals? Because from my point of view, right, I feel as though, and I've been completely honest here, I feel as though the PDP would be more amenable to working with the PNM to resolve this issue if Watson Duke was not there. Because at the end of the day, we know Watson Duke is a firecracker. We know let's be honest, he's very problematic. And I think that he big enough to admit that about himself. But I think based on what I would have heard the other members of the PDP say on platforms, in some of their Facebook posts, and some of the speeches, on the news and interviews, I think that some of them genuinely have the best interests of Tobagonians at heart, and they genuinely want to serve. I mean, I can't really say that for everybody, but from what I've witnessed, I feel as though if you take him out of the equation, they would have been a little more willing to compromise, in the sense that they would have made some concessions if necessary, in order to allow the House of Assembly to be able to convene so that they could move forward with the affairs of Tobago. Yeah. And why I say it may be a generation gap, because Watson Duke, no matter how he tried to play, he's not that young. So I would consider him the generation before. And then, the PNP have a lot of young faces and voices. So I feel as though generally our generation, I'm talking about millennials, we are a little more conscious of the need to allow some things to fall by the wayside so that we could progress.
Okay.
We look at I feel as though we look at the bigger picture. So I feel like if it is, they might need to ask him to...
You think he's going to leave?
Of course he's not going to leave. Of course he's not going to leave. That man loves a camera and he loves front and center. But what I'm saying is, are you so consumed with yourself being promoted that you're going to allow all this time to pass by just because you're not getting your way?
Yes. You get to know, like, you don't know the individual we're dealing with. I don't understand. The one who wanted to swim from Tobago to Trinidad, you get to know, like, you do not know who we're dealing with.
Jeez and ages. And it is sad that kind of behavior we see in House of Assembly. And I mean, maybe Tobagonians could weigh in and probably expose some things that would have taken place in the past that we probably might not have the presence of mind or the knowledge of as Trinidadians. But for me, Zena, I feel like House of Assembly generally is a well-oiled machine. They smooth sailing.
Yeah.
So to come now to have this kind of upheaval over something that would simply take agreement from big people, it's no, like seriously, that's what it is boiled down to, you know.
So then, the way to go would be to have a next election.
I don't think that's the solution because I believe people not going to come out and vote again. And then who paying for that in this panoramic?
Right, so you make a good point. People coming out to vote because who's to say they're gonna have a next election and get a next tie?
That's why the next election is not a viable option.
It's 12.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And people saying amend the THA Act. But that and all I feel as though is something that for the near future is not very workable. It's not feasible. Because amending an act, it really takes time. Even if you have a whole team of legislators working around the clock on it.
But who would be amending? Because I don't have no, it have nobody in TJ. It's not no officers, nothing. So who, excuse me. So who would be working on that?
Kill. That is why the only solution is really for them to agree. That for me is the only possible outcome. And the fact that we know that we're not going to get that is what is so ridiculous and counterproductive and wasting time and not at all in the best interests of Tobagonians. And that is why, to be honest, I'm a little bit upset with Tobagonians because I feel as though the elections, how from my observation, it was more of a popularity contest as opposed to weighing what candidates had your best interests at heart.
Is any election in Trinidad or Tobago like that? No, Amaris.
Girl.
Best interest at heart? No, Amaris.
Yeah, but we had to change it.
People voting for what they like.
And nothing is wrong with that, eh? And I think that is my my thing. I don't want nobody feel that I touting for the other party because I am not. But what I'm saying is, going forward in today's world, we need to change the way we look at politics. We need to change the way we look at decision making. We need to change the mindset we have towards election, especially in this country. We think that is an opportunity to do a little small pump, a little get, a little free bandana, free jersey, free this, free that. You know, we get the opportunity to air some of the grievances that some people have, some of the grouses that some people have with the persons on the other side that, to be honest, is totally irrelevant in most instances. But you know what? This is the pecan capital of the world, so we just had to allow it. But at the same time, oh gosh, we're more informed now.
Yeah.
You generally more informed. So, oh gosh, man, we had to do something to change. We need to, because look how long that elections was, Zena.
Almost a month?
Almost a month ago.
About 3.5 weeks.
And you hear how they spend the night by
No.
Girl. One of the days that all the candidates who won the election, they met to discuss the what they're going to do, the way forward.
Yeah.
And PDP candidates decide that the presiding officer, I think it is, does not have the authority to end the proceedings, and they spend the night in House of Assembly. Like if they're waiting to buy a Game Boy in 1999 outside a store. Spend the night. And people drop food for them and all kind of things. So my thing is this, right? Those kind of actions and antics. Presently, when there's no house convened, nobody, there's no chief secretary, nothing can get done. What is the point?
Right, and if nothing getting done like that, nothing will get done if both parties try to work together, Amaris. I don't see it happening. I do not see it happening. But I could be wrong.
So what do you foresee happening then?
I don't know. I think they have to go back to the polls. They will have to go back to the polls. But I think moving forward, similar to how we had the 1818 deadlock in Trinidad, and then they reorganized the constituency so we would have an odd number.
The constitution.
Yeah, the constitution, sorry. So we would have an odd number of constituencies. I think they need to do that with Tobago. So make it 13 or make it 11 or however you want to do it, 15, but an odd number.
Yeah.
Because it's no longer where there's a clean sweep.
Right.
Because I know that's what you start on, a clean sweep. With the PNM. It's not like that anymore. People are making their decisions. They're not just voting blindly. So they need to reorganize it.
Okay, so as you say, clean sweep, right? I want to know, like, what do you think from the outside looking in? What do you think was PNM's downfall? That they lost so much ground.
I said clean sweep, and it has been like that for years. Years. And I think that when you have a country that is so loyal to this party, and they don't get the things they think they deserve, or the things that they are expecting, the infrastructure that they will promise, the kind of forward movement that they want, they would, and I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think that these voters who would typically vote PNM voted for the PDP. It may have had some, but I feel like they didn't vote at all. Right. They would tell their votes.
Right.
So that is something that PNM would need to look at. And so you need to understand that it's not always going to be in your favor. It's not always going to be a clean sweep. People are waking up. And whilst they may not have voted for the other party, they withheld their vote.
Right. So it doesn't help you.
And I would like to say, I know it caught them by surprise, because I saw them being all hopeful the day of the elections, the day before elections. And then it was like a slap in the face when it was, no, I'm telling you, I saw them on my timeline. Real talking on myself, and then the day of the election, it's like, not sure what happened, not sure how it happened, why it happened. And I don't think it was something that anyone foresee was going to happen in the lead up to the election, during the campaign.
Right. And for me, I think that as a nation, we need to really look at what took place in Tobago as an indication of what may happen in Trinidad and Tobago for general elections, because for now we look at things saying that, you know, it have certain constituencies that they don't budge, they vote one way. But let's be honest, people are moving all around the country. People live in areas where their families grew up and lived for years and move into somewhere completely different. And then we now realize, and I feel like a lot more of us are aware that our MPs are there to work for us. Our councillors are there to work for us. So if you are not serving me, you will get out. It's as simple as that. You will be voted out. It's as simple as that. And I feel as though our national political parties, and I use national in the sense as indicating the political parties in Trinidad and Tobago, need to take stock of themselves, because in the areas where you feel as though you're comfortable, because it's a safe seat, you need to now say, but them in Tobago thought X was a safe seat. They thought X was a they thought it was a safe seat. So
you need to work, and as they need to work for the people. They need to work.
Yeah, you're not here for your looks. You're not here,
Some of them could never be here for the looks.
Well, girl, you would never believe so the way they feel nice, but let's not go there. But what I'm saying too is that we as Trinbagonians, we need to really put a greater demand on our politicians that they rise to the occasion. And Tobagonians, this is my personal message to you all. I would like you all to hold all of your assemblymen to task. Don't let them get a minute rest. Let them earn the vote that you would have trusted to them. Because trust and believe, you see this bacchanal that going on here? We are fed up, we are tired, we are over it. And it's time, to get the ball rolling, because hopefully this Pacific will be over soon, and we would have to be able to talk about ways that Tobago could really move forward in terms of how they could revitalize the Tobagonian economy. So we need to have a House of Assembly, so all you need to let them know, hello, time to organize all yourself, else all you really have to look to press, because you're not here for looks, Watson. You're not here for style. I know you say you're not looking for friends, you're looking for money, but no, you have to look to work. It's as simple as that. So yeah.
Alright guys, so that's it for today. You can catch us next Saturday for the new episode. We may put out a preview on what the next episode is going to be about, so stay tuned to our social media pages for that. Bye.
Bye. See y'all.